'Cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say. With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. To the edge of it. In this moment, yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yes. Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say. With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. To the edge of it. In this moment, yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yes. Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say. With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. To the edge of it. In this moment, yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yes. Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say. With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yeah, lead the way. I follow. No need to say where we are heading now.
What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table podcast, where we have roundtable discussions about the hottest topics in weight loss. And of course, we have the coolest people from the bariatric community. I'm Rob, waiting in vain. This is Murph, aka Murph's Losing It. Grab a chair, wind down from your busy day, and take a seat at the table. Murph, how's it going, man?
Doing good, man. Super tired, but I'm excited to be here with our special guest today and with you. And yeah, how you doing?
I'm awesome. As you had mentioned, no sleep. That's all right. For any of the Canadians who are listening, it was our Thanksgiving weekend this past weekend, and I had driven to Detroit for a wedding Friday night. Slept very little. Went to visit Murph, and we did our live in person for the first time, which was amazing. And went to the wedding, and then slept an hour and a half. Drove back to Canada 4 hours for my daughter's birthday. Went to Wonderland, which is pretty much a theme park. I slept like 3 or 4 hours the next night, and then we did Thanksgiving. So it was a whirlwind type of weekend, but I am super excited for this week's episode. And we're going to discuss how our Thanksgiving meals sort of fit into the bariatric diet, because in some of my bariatric groups, we actually have a lot of discussions. People have been posting their pictures of their Thanksgiving dinner and sort of how everything sort of fits in that. So we're going to talk about that. But I'm really excited about this week because realistically, it doesn't matter if you've had bariatric surgery. It doesn't matter if you are planning on having bariatric surgery. It doesn't matter if you have never had bariatric surgery and you're not looking to. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about today on this week's episode is literally for everyone looking to get into that healthy lifestyle, and getting back to that healthy weight. So let's jump into it. This week, we welcome Jeannie Reed Boyer, IG handle at BariSuccessRD. And she's a registered dietitian specializing in bariatrics. And we'll be exploring some of the relationships with food. And similar to what we had discussed with Mary a couple weeks back at various points in our bariatric journey. And what I'm excited about is we're going to be answering some of those burning questions that we all have, but we are too hesitant to ask. So Jeannie, welcome to the show.
Hey.
I was busy messaging somebody on Instagram. Hey, Maddie.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's probably me. Technology, guys. I think that's like our thing every week. Technology.
Yeah. We need to watch actually podcasts about how to have a podcast. We need
how to manage technology. Perfect.
Jeannie, it's great to have you with us. I'm super excited to have you here and finally on the show. This is something we've been talking about doing for a while, and now you're here. And Rob, I know you got some questions for her. I've got some questions for her. And then you guys on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, feel free to throw a question down there. And now is your chance. You've got a bariatric dietitian for an hour. Ask away. So let's have some fun.
Before we jump to that, though, Jeannie, again, back to that technology. Can you actually unmute your mic and then just mute your audio on StreamYard? That way we can hear you on all the recording. So right now, StreamYard is muted, your mic, so we can't. So the recording can't hear your voice. So perfect, awesome.
But I think it's going to echo. No echo.
So far, no.
Okay. So, as they said, my name is Jeannie Reed Boyer. I've been a bariatric dietitian for almost 20 years, and I'm also a certified specialist in obesity and weight management. which pretty much means I've done it for a long time and I took a test to prove that. And it's what I love to do. And on Instagram specifically, and with my website, I really want to focus on the gaps that are there between you had surgery, you had a relationship with the clinic. It's 7 months, it's 7 years after, and now what? Like, where do you go? Who do you talk to? So I hope to be that person on Instagram and elsewhere.
So I know Murph had asked this question previously, and when trying to learn about you, sort of the point of view, because if anyone has not gone on Jeannie's IG page, it is one of the most entertaining IG pages
Yes.
to talk about facts, right? So some of the different videos you have up there, the different clips, but everything is so pertinent, and it comes across so clearly. So I know Murph had asked this question previously. Like, so what was your experience? Were you a bariatric patient, or did you live a lifestyle similar to that, or how did you get into what you're doing now?
That's a really great question. I am not a bariatric patient. I'm a dietitian that did not want to work in a hospital. That's and then I volunteered to teach a bariatric class with my first year of work and just was sold. Like, I fell in love with the fact that I knew who I was working with, that I knew them longer than 20 minutes, and that I could be a part of and see such great change and such like improvement in health and life and joy. I think it's just the best job I could ever have. I stuck with it.
Oh, awesome. And momthebomb.com, love the name, by the way, said that even though your information is super entertaining, the clips seem to come at just the time that she needs it, which is amazing. And I find that that's often the experience a lot of us bariatric patients have, right? I think everyone, one of Brandy Hold's favorite IGs to follow. Look at the love you're getting.
Seriously.
I find that a lot of bariatric patients, we all struggle, right? I don't care what Instagram shows, I don't care what Facebook shows, we all struggle. And it just always feels like the information you give is exactly what we need to hear at that time. So if you were to sum up what the biggest challenge you find that a lot of bariatric patients come across, what would you say is a big thing you see?
I think transitioning from all the directions that you receive for that first year, for that first liquid to solid, to forever after. Like, that's where the direction falls off, and that's a place you've never been before. And I think, you had obesity and you dealt with the way you were eating and living when you were dealing with obesity. Then you have surgery and you figure out how to handle that. And then you hit a year mark or 2 years. There's nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. So I think that's the biggest. I mean, it is tough. I'm not denying that first year and all those stages and all of the changes and the reactions and the physical and emotional and from other people, like, that's huge. But I think the forever after part is just a confusion. It's just confusing. There's not clear direction. Everybody's different. I think it's just tough.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people underestimate, or you hear a lot of people say, like, I'm going to get bariatric surgery, or you got bariatric surgery because it's the easy way out. I want to find the easy way out. From a dietitian standpoint, would you agree, disagree with that statement? I mean, I know my experience, and Rob, we've talked, on other, shows in the past, how we don't feel like bariatric surgery is the way out. How, can you put that to rest already, or what is that,
Oh, I'm trying to think of like a good comeback, but like, how is surgery, like, how is choosing to have surgery easy like that?
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, we all know this, it's not like getting your gallbladder out, or I mean, I bet a knee replacement is hard, but then you got a new knee. Like, this is different. It's like, this is the moment that impacts forever after. It's not, it's just not that simple. It's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it harder than a lot of people think, is that it's not just cut and dry. Oh, I'm going to lose, X amount of my stomach, or I'm going to have this special surgery and then magically I'm fixed. There's more maintenance to it than that. And it's not just that first year or two. We're talking long term, like you said, the ever after,
And it doesn't do it doesn't do it for you. Like, you still have to make decisions and eat accordingly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And something we've said numerous times on this, and I know Murph and I have had this discussion quite a few times, is the need to learn to adapt, right? And I think with a lot of bariatric patients, that's one of the skills that we lacked. I know for me it is, at least, right? It took a very, very honest conversation with myself to understand where I excelled and where I failed in weight loss previously. What was it that caused me to fall off, and what caused me to not jump back on to get back to that healthy lifestyle when I was trying to do that? And I think at the end of the day, a lot of it was sort of being able to adjust as needed. And I find that even though we've had bariatric surgery, a lot of people think, okay, you've done it, now you're going to lose the weight, you do all that. But that 1 year mark hits, or that 2 year marks, or that 10-year mark hits for like Mary, and you're constantly having to learn to adjust, right? You want to start exercising. And Mary asked a question about, anabolic eating for muscle building post-op.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, okay, I'm being active, I'm trying to build muscle as opposed to lose fat. You need to learn how to be able to switch your diet around to accommodate your goals, right? Let's jump on to that question. I know there's another question about soda and caffeine addiction that we'll definitely jump on, because that was a really good one. But in regards to eating for muscle building post-op, what are some suggestions or some tips and tricks that you would suggest for that? Because I know what I do, but I would love to hear.
Yeah.
This is one of my questions too.
So my preface with, I'm not a trainer. I think the challenge is getting enough protein, but also enough carbohydrate to fuel your workout. And so I also think a lot of times protein is pushed too much when by trainers or by somebody else in the gym that's not a trainer. It's like, oh, you need 150 grams of protein. You can build muscle with 80 grams of protein. Like, you have to use the muscle. You have to have the carbohydrate fuel energy to get you through the workout. That's a very simple answer with no numbers, which, sorry if you were looking for grams and numbers, but
macros and calorie breakdown. I'm just getting it up.
I mean, it's not an exact science, for every individual. It's like I always say, like, every body is different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
but I think if you're trying to build muscle, I think it's about the workout and having the energy to complete the workout.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like, it's always gone into the idea that if my goal is actually to gain muscle, I'm going to have to eat to accommodate that goal. Right. So, I know a lot of people really follow keto, for example, and even keto, something that people will use. And for me, doing a lot of endurance training, do a lot of high training, I wasn't going to do that. Right? I actually had my overall calorie intake. Carbohydrates, right? That would be my breakdown, especially when I was doing a lot more endurance training. And so I think we also need to learn to tune out all the stuff that we've been fed prior to surgery about keto, Atkins, everything. This is the way to do it. Do this, right? Because our body's not the same anymore. We can't just do the same thing previously and expect our body to be able to react. Heck, I don't even know if when we were pre-op, if our body would react the way we needed it to react by doing things like that, right? So, question, amazing question. It was about soda and caffeine addiction. And whether we can have soda after gastric bypass, because I know that a lot of dietitians, I know in my program in Canada at Toronto Western Hospital, I know one of the suggestions was you can't eat or you can't drink soda or pop for us in Canada. You can't drink through a straw, all these different things. So what is your take on those? And is there a specific timeline that we need to follow for that? By the way, everyone, great questions. I'm writing them all down. We're trying to get to them.
Yeah. And I'll try to be succinct. Caffeine, at least 6 weeks post-op. Don't do caffeine. In general surgery. It is, when you have a bypass, you're at higher risk for ulcers, and caffeine can increase that risk. So be cautious. But if you have a cup of coffee a day, maybe 2, I mean, I don't have my mug, but like this cup of water, like if you have that much coffee, I think you're fine. But if you're drinking coffee all day and having a Diet Coke in the afternoon and a glass of tea, over time after a bypass, that could stack up and leave you with a nasty ulcer. Sleeves, I would almost say the same thing. You're just at less risk. We just don't need that much caffeine. Carbonation, I don't think it's a problem. If you can handle it and you want it, no big deal. It does cause stress on the, and I'm going to get this wrong because this is not my forte, but like the bladder. And if you have problems like with incontinence, like that can make it worse. And straws, I tell people all the time, have a straw. After you get through that like transition of how much you can sip and what goes down when, a straw is going to help you reach your fluid goals.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I love about the Instagram world and the other dietitians there. Like we're all saying like, have a straw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's interesting too, because like I think there are so many rules that we had early on. I know it was very confusing, and I'm a very detail oriented person. Like I will learn all the things that were written down to the T. And there was so much stress post-op that I wasn't hitting my water, right? I could not drink anymore. And then eventually when I spoke to my dietitian at our regularly scheduled appointment, it was like, oh, you just try your best and do it. But that's one of the main things I constantly hear from a lot of people is I'm not hitting my water. I'm not hitting my protein amounts. This is right after surgery, and a ton of stress about that. So that's one of the big things.
Yeah, there's so many rules and guidelines, which are necessary, but it can cause some fear and like some hesitation to go anywhere outside of those rules, but you will. And it's okay, but it doesn't feel okay. It feels really scary.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of don'ts, not as many do's. And then like for the don'ts, I feel like I had to do a lot of the research on my own. Like, why am I not supposed to drink out of a straw? I still didn't get it. Like, 2 months post-op, and I'm like, can I drink out of a straw now? Or like, when can I do that? And why can't I do that? Or like, when can I eat and drink at the same time? Like, I still don't eat and drink at the same time. I'm 16 months post-op, and I still just because I've trained myself, I don't eat or drink at the same time anymore. I'll wait 30 minutes before I drink.
I'd stick to that one. Stick to that one.
What?
Yeah.
Stick to that one? Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't
Is
mind
it because of like
but it's
dilution of
why?
enzymes when you're eating?
With the bypass, and you may see things like that, you have a funnel, and so it's just going to flush the food out, and so you don't feel as full as long, or you can eat more at that mealtime because you're just emptying your pouch as you're eating. With the sleeve, it's a little bit different because you have a top and a bottom. It's going to hold liquid and solid, but you could think of it the same way, because if you drink more in that container, you're going to have less room for solid food. And then, so you're not going to be able to eat as much at that meal and likely to be hungry sooner after.
Okay.
Which is another little weird brain thing, because it's like, well, I ate less. Like, that's great. But you want to be able to eat enough to not be too snacky.
Yeah. Jeannie, I want to say that, this is our, 8th episode.
8,
And we have never struggled to keep up with the question. So this is amazing because there's tons, which I expected.
That's awesome.
Like I haven't even gotten to some of the ones that people had sent me earlier, but I want to get to the ones that people actually send on the live right now. So Anne, hi Anne, said that she's a vegetarian and she's very active, which I can definitely attest to. I'm always trying to keep up with Anne. She hits her protein goals and feels good, but gets slack all the time for being a vegetarian and a bariatric patient or a post-op patient. Any tips? Screw those guys. Yeah.
No, I mean, if you're
fingers.
meeting your goals and if you're maintaining your weight and you're feeling good energy and you're taking your vitamins, your labs look fine. The thing about bariatric surgery with protein is it is pounded and that's all you hear. That's all that's sold. But you don't need more protein because you had bariatric surgery.
Right.
Like me sitting here having not have surgery needs the same amount of protein as the same me that had surgery. This person just has less space to get it in. So it becomes more of a focus and a priority. So you don't need more because you had surgery. It just, you got to make sure you get it because you don't have room for this salad and the protein that you need.
Right. So the overall volume that you take in is significantly less. So you just need to prioritize that.
Right.
Perfect.
And that's kind of one of my questions was, like how do you, because I mean, we're told to eat a lot of protein and, a certain amount of time out, especially if you're hitting the gym. Like I'm trying to get more involved in the gym and exercise and build muscle. So I need to eat more protein. But then aren't I stretching my stomach out sooner or quicker because I'm consuming more protein? So then I'm turning to, and I've got like 3 questions in one here, but then I'm turning to protein drinks or powders or, things like that. And it's like, but is that healthy? Is that the right way to, because it doesn't seem natural. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's this toss up of emotions. And all I'm thinking is like, shoot for 150 grams of protein, you know what I mean? Because I'm hitting the gym hard, but then, and then other days it's like, I don't want to look at anything protein.
Yeah.
I just want some bread or, I just want chips or like snacky foods or slider foods or, things like that. And
I think if you're like what you're trying to do, you're trying to build muscle, you're in the gym working out more. So you need to supplement with protein. So you're going to still have your meals that have your good solid ounces. And then maybe you do a 20-gram protein something.
Okay.
Before or after the workout. Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed Sadie, or I might say it wrong, she asked about 2 drinks because she can't reach her goals. I want to know why you can't reach your goals and how far out you are. Because my goal for all of my patients is to get rid of the shakes, like to eventually not need them unless, like Murph, like working out more or, training for something or, occasionally breakfast doesn't happen. So you have a shake, like that makes sense, but I don't want you to depend on them.
Right.
Yeah. So Sadie said, if I'm unable to meet protein goals, can I have 2 protein shakes in the day to supplement?
Like full protein shakes? Like, for example, like a Premier was like 30 grams.
Premier is
grams.
11. Yeah. 11. Yeah. It's 30 grams with 11 ounces.
So the goal is 80. 4 months post-op, that is challenging.
Yeah.
I would say, can you do the 42-gram core power and then get the other 40 from your diet instead of 2 30s? And then maybe in the next 2 months, we can go down to like a 20, like half of the core power and get more from food.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these questions, it comes back to another question that someone asked about processed food and what your view is on processed food. So we talked about processed protein or protein in the form of shakes. How about on other forms of food?
Oh, that's a big can of worms.
Yeah.
You can get into like semantics of like, well,
what's processed?
like a cheese is processed food, you know, like, and I eat a load of cheese sticks.
That's me.
But, and I think she also mentioned like the turkey sticks. I love those chomp turkey sticks. Like the way we live and how busy we are, we're probably, most of us are going to have some processed food.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to make your best choice. Like I prefer chomps to Slim Jims, and I was just talking to a patient about Healthy Choice Power Bowls. They are impressive. Like their ingredients are real ingredients. There's nothing weird, but they're processed food, but they're fine. So,
so there has to be a little bit of give and take when you're trying to,
I think, you had mentioned it, the way that we sort of live, convenience is king. And even though we may give and take on some things, I think we're still going to have some sort of processed food. Even if we look at some of the things that we make or create, you're still going to have processed ingredients in that. So we need to be fully aware before saying, hey, we can't eat any processed foods.
Yeah.
Right. So this is actually a very good question. I'm going to scroll all the way up to momthebot.com. If you identify downtime as a trigger for snacking, are there any tips to get past that, since it's not realistic? Since it's not realistic to be going all the time. I go all the time with food, unfortunately, but it is definitely it's difficult, right?
Like the trigger of downtime to snack.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny. Secret something coming soon. I was working on that today, and on triggers and boredom and downtime. And you've probably all heard of Atomic Habits or James Clear. I love this idea. Like, think about that habit. Is your downtime on the couch, like mine, in the left corner next to the coffee table with the pillow? Every time you sit in that seat and you think, oh, I need some popcorn. I need some whatever, some crackers. What if you moved your body? Like, instead of your downtime being in that seat that tells your brain and tells your body, oh, here's the popcorn seat, go sit in the chair in the formal living room and have your downtime there and see what happens, or your downtime could be a walk. It doesn't have to be like exercise. It could, like today I was walking my dog and I was like, you know what? I'm putting my phone in my pocket. I'm going to let her sniff whatever she wants to sniff. And I'm just going to look at trees. Like, that's a downtime.
Yeah. And I think that's a good tip, because I've said this before, and this is one of the main things I believe is it all comes down to your mind for me, right? I shared with you, Jeannie, that the first year after surgery for me was spent not necessarily worrying about how much weight I would lose. It was worried about creating those habits to last me past year one. Right. And so for me, mindset has always been the big thing for me. I always say that the mind is stronger than the body. Whatever your mind decides, your body will follow, because it has no other choice. And so I think that's a great idea in regards to changing up what downtime necessarily means, right? We associate downtime with food, and a lot of this stuff that we've had for years and years and years, 30 plus years for me, they're associations, right? We associate certain things. If I go to a baseball game, I'm like, okay, well, I need to eat this. If I go to the movies, I have to eat this, right? And so what downtime may mean, it can be changed, and that might change the whole experience of what downtime is, right? So from your point of view, in regards to the dietitian's perspective, how important is mindset to the success of your patients, right?
The first thing that popped in my head was it's huge, but then it's also really buzzy. And even in my non-dietitian world, if I'm trying to like sucky runner right now, but if I'm trying to run better, oh, it's all about your mindset. Like, I thought that this morning. I just need to quit thinking I suck and I will run better. But that's just hard. So I want to change the word. I think awareness is really important, and and being gentle
Yes.
with yourself. Yeah. Like if I'm aware of, like, I'm going to be real honest today. I don't know what it is. I've just ate all day long. I was like, I'm still hungry. I'm still eating things. But there are times when I stood in front of my pantry and I just stood there. Like, I looked at everything. Like, I don't really want any of these things. That happened once today. There were plenty of other times today where I said, I'm just, grabbing whatever it is. So I think there's the awareness of like, wait, am I really hungry, or do I really want these things? Is there anything in here that I want? And okay, I messed up. Okay, I didn't mess up this time. Like, everybody messes up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have that stressful first year. Like, you have to do something that's going to be sustainable. And if you are constantly like, this is wrong, I did that wrong, I ate too much, I had a bite too much, I ate a piece of chocolate, I didn't walk, like, there's where your mindset starts like controlling your body. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're definitely our biggest critics, and we've put in, some of us have gotten surgery. We've gone under the knife to make this ultimate change in our lives, and then we screw up, and it's just all is lost. And and it's so hard to have. I always tell people, I've had some people reach out to me that have just recently gotten surgery, or they're a week out or something, and they say, any advice? And I'd say, grace. Just give yourself some grace.
Mm-hmm.
Just take it one day at a time, one meal at a time, and there's a reward in that too. Today everybody was eating pizza around the table at work. And I went down, and I had already had lunch, and I went down to the cafeteria, and I'm like, man, I want some pizza. But why do I want pizza? I'm not even hungry. I just want pizza because they're having pizza, and they're having a good time with their pizza, And so I walked out of the cafeteria. I did not get the pizza, and I thought to myself, go you, there's a reward to it as well. And then that helps your mindset. Like it's not like I didn't conquer the day or anything like that, but it's just making that choice for yourself to say, yes or no. And if you do say yes,
and
it's okay.
You built a little muscle. It's like muscle. Like you built, you flex that muscle, and it's going to get bigger and stronger to be able to not be as tempted by those things.
But if I fell for the temptation and I got the pizza, then so what? Hopefully I enjoyed it. And it was delicious, and it was warm and cheesy, and then and move on.
Everyone's gonna go get pizza now, Murph. Thanks, because
sorry, hey,
describe
pizza
it
on me,
so
everybody.
vividly.
Right.
Oozing cheese. Sorry, guys. I love you. I promise.
But I think you're right, though, right? Like, a lot of people have asked that question as well to me, and I can say that I probably haven't been as honest with myself as I have over the past 2 years, and I haven't been as nice to myself as I have been in the past 2 years, right? Someone had asked about, if they're feeling something, if they're really craving something, what do you do? And again, for me, moderation has always been my mantra, right? If I'm with my family, I don't want to have to cook different meals for everyone. I want to enjoy. And, we even talk about the whole waiting table idea, right? Being at the table with family and friends is important to us. I don't want to be sitting there in a bad mood because I'm watching you eat the pizza that Murph explained and described so nicely, and I'm eating and I'm eating something else.
And it's
everything,
meat,
right?
Good stuff.
But that's the thing, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going to have a little bit. I'm going to learn to control that, and I'm going to be okay with that, right? Knowing that I'm taking many other steps throughout my day to get to my end goal, right? I'm drinking my water, I'm eating other meals, I'm working out, I'm doing all these other things. And I think a lot of people focus on that negativity, right? I talk about this with my daughter all the time. She's always in her head. And it's sort of like, on her birthday, something happened, she got upset, she cried, and that was what she was upset at. And I said, look at all the great things you did today. Don't take away that one bad thing. And I say the same thing to all of us in terms of us going through our journey. Don't look at that one thing like, hey, I had a bite of pizza. Look at, hey, I got all my water and I went for a walk. I did this. I walked as opposed to drove my car down the street, which was my life. before. But all these other things that we need to celebrate, and like you said, it's building muscle. It's building on top of it, and it's cumulative, right? So
Yeah. And like Brandy said, just have one slice of pizza and then move on, or I've got a pizza cutter in my drawer, and I usually, slice it in half, have half a slice of pizza, go sit down, relax, enjoy every bite, and then just move on, and there will be another meal in a few hours, and you can enjoy that one too, But don't be so hard on yourself. So I have, Rob, I don't know how many questions you have, but I have like one good question left, I think, in my arsenal.
I have a big one that everyone will want to ask about and want to hear about. So go ahead, do yours, bro.
I'll do mine first because yours is bigger. I don't know that, but so
don't take my question though, okay?
So somebody out there maybe watching this right now or tomorrow or whatever, they've fallen completely off the track. They've had bariatric surgery 2-3 years ago or a year ago, or they're just not seeing the success that they wanted to see, or they were seeing the success and then now they're not, and they've given up. They're, and they stumbled upon the waiting table or your Instagram channel. How do we get back on the track? Like, what is the first step in just getting back on the track, getting back on track and
I think believing that and knowing you still have a tool. Like you mentioned earlier, am I stretching? It doesn't stretch. It doesn't stretch. Surgeon will tell you it doesn't stretch.
Right.
I mean, it does from like post-op day 2 to post-op day 20. Sure.
Okay.
Or even like 6 months, 7 months. But after that, read Atomic Habits. Yeah.
Very.
It doesn't stretch, but where people, I think where that feeling and that fear comes from is you go back to what goes down easy.
Mm-hmm.
And what goes down easy, you can eat more of. And so it feels like, oh my gosh, I can eat a whole bag of popcorn. Well, yeah, because it dissolves way before it gets to your stomach. So you can just keep eating it. So it feels like, oh my gosh. So you have a tool. It still works, I think was the first thing. And we kind of talked about this a while back, but I know tracking is not fun. But I've worked with clients before in tracking different ways. Like you don't have to write down, I ate 2 eggs. That is 14 grams of protein and 8 grams of fat. I ate 1 cheese stick, 8 grams of protein, 3 grams of fat. Like you don't have to track that way. You can just write it down. I ate breakfast. It was eggs and toast. I ate yogurt. I ate a mini Snickers bar. I ate a piece of pizza. Like just start writing it down. And there's studies that show just doing that will make an impact. Like you will make change. And
why is that? What do you think? Why is that?
I think it just, like what we were talking about, it just brings your awareness more into what you're eating and your triggers. And maybe like, I mean, I've been there. Like I ate half a bag of Hershey Kisses today. I didn't know that because I ate 1 at a time.
Yeah.
But if I was writing them all down through the day, you just almost without thought start making changes. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. And make sure you're eating your protein first. So it doesn't have to be 150 grams, but you're eating it first.
Okay. So you would say front load the protein,
that's a good way
morning, like breakfast, lunch, and then maybe dinner.
I
have
also
that pizza or
if anybody is a graphic designer and wants to help me out, this is what I want to make. I want a little graphic design of a parfait cup. And so you have to think about every time you eat, you're filling up a parfait. So it's going to look really pretty. It's not going to look pretty if you put the whipped cream on the bottom because everything's just going to, but you got to put something solid on the bottom. So you're putting protein first. Then you put like the colorful, pretty stuff in the middle, vegetables, fruit, fiber. And then you put the fluff on the top, the mashed potatoes, the rice, the pasta, whatever. So if you kind of think about your sleeve, your pouch, you're going to front load or stack it so that it's satisfying, stays full.
That's a really cool analogy. I like that.
That's a very good analogy.
And now I want pizza and a parfait.
I know, right? The whole time when you were talking, I'm like, mashed potatoes.
Right. It's a perfect meal.
If we can just get through one episode without talking about poop, I'll be happy. So I'm good with that. The food talk is good. So we're done now. Yeah.
Oh, and momthebomb.com. I do have a little, I call it like a 3 days to reverse or regain. It's pretty much a nutrition self-assessment that is that. It's like tracking, but without all the numbers, and observing it in a different way to kind of get you to change your focus and know what to do first.
Very cool.
Sadie asks, where do we put our smokes in the parfait? Stick them right on top in the mashed potatoes.
Right? Yeah.
So you actually said the magic word. It's regain, right? And I know that Murph actually talked about that in regards to falling off the wagon. But that tends to be the biggest thing that people either bring up in some of the groups that I'm part of, or it's one of the biggest concerns and biggest fears moving forward, right? It's regain. It's getting back to where you were before. So I know you talked about tracking. I know you talked about some of the things that you can do. How would you walk someone through getting back, like after regain? Like, let's just say they lost 100 pounds, gained it back, right? Because there's a lot of things that are at work here, right? There's sort of their emotions in regards to it. There's the actual physical part, if there's any other comorbidities, but then there's also the diet in regards to that. So how would you assess what sort of went wrong? And then we will talk about the vape and smoking part right after.
So assessment wise, and I don't know about other dietitians, but I think most bariatric dietitians are going to be like this. Like, when I ask you what you eat, I want to know, and not judging it. I'm not like tisk in my head. Like, I've heard it all. After 20 years, I've heard it all. So I need to know, like, what are you really eating? And another assessment I do, because I'm not a surgeon and I can't look inside, is the chicken test. So that's what I call it. I want you to be hungry, sit down to eat chicken, and tell me how much you can eat before you're like, I can't have another bite. And most of the time, people are like, oh, I can only eat half a chicken breast. And that tells me what the problem is. It's more whether it's emotional eating or food choices and where we need to start. Yeah. And psychology, definitely get a mental health person. If you've like lost 100 and gained 100, if it's 10, 20 pounds, like, we can start to work on that. But if it's 100, I think there's a lot more elements in play, and we need to maybe see.
And that's sort of, I know in my past, and this was pre-op, long time before, I lost track of 50 pounds, right? Like, I was starting CrossFit at that point. They asked me how much I weigh. I said a number, and I was 50 pounds off. I was 50 pounds heavier at that time. And so, like, I think for me, that was one reason I had the surgery. I was just like, it's very easy for me to lose track of 50 pounds, but with this diet, with this tool that we've had, and with the changes that it's made physically, it's a lot harder to gain that weight. It's going to be a lot slower. Now, I know that there are ways around everything. Like, I think anyone who's had the surgery for a while, they know that there are ways around that. But is there anything that you would tell people to sort of keep an eye out? Because I know that's on, the top of everyone's head when they're going through this journey, right?
Like, what to watch out for that?
Like in your own behaviors or dietary behaviors that you want to, you might consider these sort of red flags as you're going.
I do this because it's my, like, munching, grazing, snacking. If you find that you're eating like all day, that is likely means you're eating the wrong things first.
Right.
Setting yourself up for more hunger. And so I think what happens is, let's say you don't eat breakfast. So at 10 o'clock, you're hungry. You're like, oh, it's not breakfast time. I'm just going to have this pack of crackers.
Yeah.
Not a lot of calories. Okay, well, then 11 comes where you're hungry. Well, it's not lunch. So you eat something else. And lunchtime comes, you're not hungry. So you wait. And so you just start eating slider foods across the day and you never feel satisfied, but you also feel like you're not really eating anything. And then the weight gain doesn't make sense in your head because you're like, I'm not eating. But yeah. And along the 50-pound thing, you don't have to weigh yourself every day, but I think it's super valuable to weigh yourself on a regular basis. Because if you see 5 pounds, you can do something without even really thinking about it. You're going to make adjustments. But if you see 30, it's like, oh, what am I going to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about like the percentage and the studies of weight regain. Oh, I posted
After
this
5+
like
years.
over a year ago. There was a study.
Let me read the question real quick for YouTube audience and Facebook. Regain is such a huge problem. Are there stats on people who are 5+ years out who are maintaining on a goal weight? What percentage of people regain by 5+ years?
I am looking back, so I want to give you the right info on my posts.
Okay.
If I can find it and not waste too much time.
No worries.
That's
While
okay.
you're looking.
And we've heard that, the 7 years, right? That like the 7-year window is like you can regain all that weight back after 7 years. I don't know. That's the only statistic that I know.
I know I look really funny on StreamYard. Hold on. Okay. Significant weight regain occurs in 25 to 35% of patients within 2 to 5 years of surgery.
Yeah.
That's a study from 2020.
Okay.
But two things. You're not defined by statistics. So it doesn't mean everybody's going to gain their weight. And what they counted as significant is like, it's kind of not a lot. It's like 15 pounds, 20 pounds. And how many of you that are beyond a year and a half, 2 years post-op have been back to your surgeon every year since? Like, I don't think that we have enough. Thank you. I don't think we have the realistic data, because the people that are gaining their weight back most likely are not going back to their surgeon because of the shame and the fear. I mean, it's like going to the dentist because you didn't floss, like, yeah. So that's the research that I found most recently. And I think we as bariatric clinics have to report data on every patient, but every patient doesn't come back. So
Yeah. Right. We have 2 more questions. So the first one was in regards to smoking after weight loss surgery, hearing that you cannot smoke again after weight loss surgery. And if you can or cannot, can you vape? Is that true or is that a myth?
that is a good surgeon question. I'm going to say no. I mean, surgery or not, do you want cancer? That's how I feel about smoking. Sorry. And vaping, my surgeon, this was a long time ago, a patient had asked that, and I asked him, and I remember he was kind of like, He didn't give me a solid answer, but there was some hesitation.
Right. So health related, no, but actual, can you do it?
It's also ulcers. Like, you can get ulcers from smoking as well. So you're already at risk with the bypass. You've got a long line of stitches with the sleeve.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about a switch or a band. So that too. Yeah. It's just, if you've already quit for surgery, why are you starting? Don't start again.
Right. And last question is for all the women out there. Does menopause affect weight gain post-op? I think it'll affect weight gain.
I think it can. It's known to move, like, change where your weight goes. But I almost don't want to acknowledge that, because I don't want to put it in our heads that, well, I'm 50 now, so I'm going to gain weight back.
For sure.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm also looking at the questions. I don't know about weed. We could have a whole nother episode if we want about that.
We
will.
We've talked about it. We've talked about, yeah.
So with menopause in general, some of the nutrition recommendations are almost just mirror bariatrics, like focus on protein and get a lot more vegetables. And we need more protein as we age. Like women need more protein as we age. So if you're nearing that, I would really focus vegetables, protein. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And let's this is going to be a long one. We have 4 minutes left. Do you see a lot of people with issues for addiction transfer?
So at ASMBS this year, which is like American Society for Metabolic and Bariatric Surgeons, there was a lot of debate on even using that term.
Right.
For whatever reason, because I've talked to people that have been through this. I've seen it in my practice. People that didn't drink at all before surgery and have no history of alcoholism will drink more after. And there's higher incidence of what they call now alcohol use disorder after surgery. So it's a bigger risk than before.
Yeah.
You know, like I could drink a gin and tonic now, and I know like my general family risk, well, after surgery, it's higher. I don't know that if we have good solid research to show that. And I think you could find studies on either side of that fence. But I've seen it. Like I've seen it with a lot of my patients. And there's no consensus with surgeons or surgery centers about when you should start or not start. Like some people say a year, 6 months, a month.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, what I used to say when I taught classes, it hits you harder and faster.
Definitely.
Like one drink is like 3. But what's challenging about it is it hits you hard and then the buzz goes away fast, but your blood alcohol level is still elevated. And so you're super risky for like DUIs. Like I remember having to talk to an attorney for a patient of ours years ago. So it's, I know, I mean, I love a good gin and tonic. So it's hard for me to say like, don't drink at all.
Yeah.
But you just got to know it's riskier behavior after surgery than it ever was before.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that is the
All
one
things
time
in
I want you to
moderation.
eat when you drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Jeannie, we have 1 minute and 15 seconds left. Where can everyone find you? Because I think that this is amazing information.
Awesome. So it's Instagram. You find me now. It's bariatric, or it's Bari Success RD. Website is Bariatric Success RD. And Facebook is Jeannie Reed Boyer. There's a link in my bio. You could sign up for that Regain Reversal guidelines and sign up for the email list. And then you'll be like first to know about what's coming.
Nice.
I'm trying to get it done for December.
Signing up. I am signing up, and I think everyone else will here because this has been such an active show. Thank you, Jeannie, for joining us. It's been amazing having you here. Everyone, thanks so much. Yeah, this is all the time we've got for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us on the Waiting Table podcast, where we're serving the weight loss community
1 pound at a time.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a good night.
See you guys. Love you all. God bless.